I got a big piece of How many people got a book that he was reading that he wanted to share, some piece of wisdom, or chocolate-covered coffee beans, or a gently used pair of those suede moccasins? I know he's given those away. He always had a little gift or a momentum, flip-flops that I understand he gave to one of you boys, just, you know, through Alan the other day. We all got little gifts for him, and he inspired me to be more thoughtful in my relationships. He really did. I was in awe of his sense of style, from his J. Crew wardrobes to his cool magnetic reading glasses that clipped around his neck. Remember those? To those canvas tote bags. Oh my gosh, I loved his sense of style. I heard more from his Aunt Phyllis last night about exactly how he, you know, this whole procedure he had for shopping, and I was just in awe of his stylishness. I've never seen a more stylish chemo patient, draped in cashmere, scarves and sweaters. He really looked beautiful in the hospital. And this carried over to his beautiful apartment as well, the apartment that I saw here in Florida, with his apartment with Alan. You know, one day he showed me this really incredibly beautiful, beaded, colorful, whimsical Haitian voodoo flag, okay? And I fell in love with it. I had to run home and Google, what the hell is a Haitian voodoo flag? And then I had to go out and find one for myself. I was just like in awe of his sense of style and the things that he found. I was also in awe of his sense of orderliness and cleanliness. You know, I think I'm neurotic. I'm sure those of you who know me and see me around here, what I do with the vacuum cleaner and the, you know, wipe his house every day. But we used to joke about how he and I were clean neurotics. As a matter of fact, just before his diagnosis, the two of us were down on our hands and knees in this room on this floor right here. And we were stripping up the wax and we were resealing it. And he had to position himself, like, you know, at the corner of the room, get down on the ground and look at how the new gloss was going across, make sure it was all even, that every single nook and cranny was and oh my gosh, we laughed and we laughed and we laughed, and we couldn't get over how crazy we were having to do this. We had a complete inability to stop the insanity. I was in awe of James's relationship with Alan. He and I shared common experiences of partners with, you know, to very successful Jewish businessmen, and we would often call each other during corporate events or family functions, and we would sponsor each other through our awkward moments. And it was during these calls that I really heard in his voice and in his words just how much he valued and loved Alan, and how he tried so hard to please him and to be there and to make this relationship thrive and grow. And some of the most difficult times he shared with me were not really necessarily his physical and health challenges, but it was his own personal challenges that when he let his anger get the best of him, or he took his frustration out on Alan, that really did him in. And when he told me of his cancer diagnosis, he said, "I'm not worried about myself, I'm worried about Alan." And I really admired that love and commitment. I was in awe of his practice of Buddhism, his practice of meditation and yoga. He knew the value of practice. We talked a lot about the necessity of practicing our faith in the good times so that it would be there for us and kick in automatically in the bad times. And so I watched him as he worked towards spiritual fitness and growth all the time. And he used to tell me that if he were spiritually fit, he could handle anything that happened to him physically or mentally, intellectually, emotionally. And I found that to be true. I don't know about you, but one of my greatest fears is illness and hospitals and doctors and everything that goes along with it. And I learned from watching James that a strong faith can help you endure anything. With acceptance, with grace, with purpose. You know, as we learn here in AA, if we are spiritually fit, we can handle life on life's terms. And James literally embodied this message for me. Last one, I was in awe of his sobriety. From the moment he raised his hand in that meeting and asked for help, I was in awe of his recovery. His love of AA, his love of service. Taking meeting commitments, sponsoring newcomers, the way he took them under his wing, and going out of his way to help them. working the steps, cleaning the floor, lining up the chairs, serving the coffee. It is often said in these rooms that his return to South Florida was like a breath of fresh air in the rooms, and it really was. He had a rich AA life and a level of sobriety that enabled him to really live his life to the fullest and to give back to others. It says in AA's literature that the 12 steps are a group of principles, spiritual in their nature, which, if practiced as a way of life, can expel the obsession to drink and to enable the sufferer to become happily and usefully whole. James lived a happy and usefully whole life. He was, as he so often called himself, a sober man. I'm incredibly grateful to have known this sober man, my friend James. One of the prayers that I know that James used, as many of us do in these rooms, is the Serenity Prayer. The Serenity Prayer has been used by AAs around the world since the 1940s. We use it in our daily meetings, we use it in our daily lives, and I'd like to recite the prayer now. I'm going to use the long version of it, and if you're familiar with it, please feel free to join me. Let's have a moment of silence, please, for our friend James. God,
grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Living one day at a time, enjoying one moment at a time, accepting hardship as the pathway to peace, taking, as he did, this sinful world as it is, not as I would have it, trusting that he will make all things right if I surrender to his will, that I may be reasonably happy in this life and supremely happy with him forever in the next. Amen. Thank you.
It's my own fault that I have to follow Nancy. When I sat down to write some thoughts between Jimmy's funeral and the memorial in New York, I found it impossible to write what most of us think of as a eulogy. So I started making lists. That's as far as I got. Here are some of Jimmy's favorite things. This is harder the second time, I'll tell you. Okay, Jimmy's favorite things. Gertrude Stein, F. Scott Fitzgerald, Henry James, Paul Auster. The teachings of the Buddha. Annie Hall, Beaches, Moonstruck, Psycho, and Tyler Perry movies. Law and Order Marathon. Yeah. Being an uncle. The view of the ocean and the cruise ships from our balcony in Florida. His Saab station wagon, filled with canvas bags of beach blankets, books on Tibetan teachings, yoga mats, bottles of water, sunglasses, surprisingly lots of them, flip-flops, and driving with the music up and the windows down. The big Texas sky. Janis Joplin, Chet Baker, Aretha Franklin, James Taylor, Carly Simon. His Buddhist name, given to him on May 11th, 2008, when he took his Buddhist vows. His name is Chosang Norbu, which means good Dharma jewel. Chapultepec, the Mexican joint. meditating on the beach, classes at Omachaya with Javi and Magali, working out with V, being awarded Most Improved Gentile at our family Seder. There's another half. Being awarded Most Improved Gentile at our family Seder so often that we canceled the competition. Martha Stewart, Barefoot Contessa, the Food Channel, meditation, imperfection, his search for meaning, truth, serenity, spirituality, authenticity. You and me. Ebony, there were two movies on the side of the TV that I found when I got down here the other night. And there's one of them. Come on. Can you do it?
Try not to. Almost impossible.
Check 1, 2. Must have been cold there in my shadow to never have sunlight on your face. You were content to let me shine. That's your way. You always walked a step behind. I was the one with all the glory, while you were the one with all the strength. Beautiful face without a name for so long. A beautiful smile to hide the pain. Did you ever know that you're my hero? You're everything I wish I could be. I can fly higher than an eagle. You are the wind beneath my wings. It might have appeared to go unnoticed, but I've got it all here in my heart. I want you to know I know the truth. Of course I know it. I would be nothing without you. Did you ever know that you're my hero? You're everything I wish I could be. I can fly higher than an eagle.
we were supposed to be in Paris this week with friends of ours from Houston, Lynn and Rob, and you saw pictures of Rob's 50th birthday a year or two ago where we were wearing Rob masks. Did you see that?
Yeah.
And Ebony was singing Wind Beneath My Wings as Jimmy had Rob in his pants. I thought of Jimmy weird. But that was appropriate. All right, Carol, you want to come up?
I too am a friend of Jimmy James. I'm a very introverted person in many ways, but I too was a dear friend of Jimmy James. And you know, since he's died, I've come to see how much Alan's family had embraced him in their lives. You know, I'm so, I mean, I knew, because he always would mention he had lunch with Aunt Phyllis. I've never met Aunt Phyllis, but, you know, and he'd mention his sister-in-law and his nephews, and I gotta go pick up my nephews, and this, that, and the other. But I've just been so touched. I have a lot of grandkids, and I know how important family is, and it was just in your life. I'm just so struck with it, and the fact that your mother, at her advanced age, came to everything and was with you, and just, I mean, just, you know, I'm a Jewish mother from the suburbs, and I know, believe me, of which I'm talking. Well, I'm going to be 70, so, I mean, she's older than you. Okay. I'm sorry, please. And Alan had asked me, I'm a very serious student. Alan asked me to write something, which I did very seriously. I had visited Alan in New York a couple of weeks ago. I have a daughter up in New York, and I just came back last night because of today. So I wrote it on the train back to Long Island, and I'll read it. I'm going to read what I like to anyway. But I hope it doesn't, I mean, I can't express how I felt about it. But I too thought he was my very best and only friend. But I realized big time, it opened my eyes when I had lunch at Alan's. I knew everybody in the building had the same experience I did. You know, I didn't know these people. Anyway, okay, this is what I wrote. I knew with certainty I was his best friend. He was so present and available and interested in the intricacies of my life. But then everyone else in his life had this certainty too. I felt valued and comforted and loved when I was with him, but then so did everyone else. Slender in physique, James was huge in spirit, humility, generosity, and devotion. He fell into my life seamlessly, and I trusted him with my deepest self. I don't even know how we met. I mean, I just don't even remember, but he's always been a part of my life, I think. His gentle ways and insight brought comfort to me in moments of great burden, and just as available was the fun we had gossiping over the many breakfasts we shared. I think of him often walking barefoot through the doors of our many Yana meeting places, and still find myself expecting him when the door opens. He treasured the Sober Today Club, vacuuming obsessively, lining up chair backs, serving coffee, cleaning toilets, and waxing floors. No task was beneath him. After his cancer diagnosis, standing in his much-loved garden of his Hallandale apartment, he looked me in the eye and said he was not afraid of dying and that I too would die one day. We sat